Welcome back to the channel, guys. It's been a minute. It's been about 3 months since I made a video, and I've been itching to get back. On our hiatus, I have not made any projects. I have not created anything. I literally did not write a single line of code for as long as our last video was out. And I was like, hey, for my next video, how about we just jump right into making a application. So in order to refresh ourselves, I created a CRUD application for people who want to learn about how the CRUD application system works. For those who want to work with backend, so with the CRUD application, it's going to be connected to a MongoDB backend, so that way you'll be able to use API and refresh or learn about APIs connecting to the backend. Get methods, post methods, patch methods, and delete methods, all those methods for the APIs. As you can see with this demo, this is what we're going to be doing on the video. It's going to be basically a job application tracker where you put in your job application, or you put in the company name. You put in if you were accepted, declined, the offer is still pending. You put in the date of which you were contacted, or which you applied for the job, and then you submit the job application. So you post it, it gets sent into a database. You can see the job application there. You'll be able to edit the job application, so it keeps a tally of the total amount of job applications. It keeps a tally of the amount of interviews you've had and the amount of offers you've had. Basically, you can customize this as much as you want, but this is a lightweight CRUD application, so it's not too robust. It's just for people trying to get their feet back into the waters, getting their feet back into coding, or trying to refresh their coding skills. That's what I basically made this project for. Now, if it helps you in other ways, that's completely okay. But with all that said, it's great to be back, and let's jump right into the video. If you do like the video, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. But with all that said, let's jump right into it. All right, so here we are in Visual Studio Code. What we're going to do is we're going to open up our terminal. We're going to say make directory, and we're going to call this application tutorial YouTube. And then we can go ahead and cd into that application tutorial YouTube, clear out of that. And now we can say npx create next app at latest, and we're just gonna do it within this folder. And we're gonna give it a second, and we're gonna say yes. We're gonna customize our own settings. So we're not gonna be using TypeScript. We're gonna be using ESLint. We're not gonna be using the compiler. We're gonna be using Tailwind CSS. We're gonna use src directory. We're gonna use the app router. We're not gonna use the import alias, and we're not gonna use this. So we're gonna wait for that to download and install. So while that's going on, we can go ahead and open up our folder. So let's give it a second here. Actually, let's just wait till it's done, and then we'll open up our folder. So it's done. So let's come over here, open folder, and we're just gonna say application tutorial YouTube. We're gonna open that up. There we go. We can close out of this, And as you can see, we have application tutorial YouTube here, and it has our Next.js configuration there. So what we want to do now is let's open up npm run dev. So localhost 3000. So let's open that up. Let's open up Chrome. So let's bring it over here so we can see it. And then we're going to say localhost 3000. And this is what we get. So we can ignore this. There we go. Awesome. So now what we want to do is we're going to go ahead and we're going to start cleaning everything up. So here for our source, we're going to go to page.js. We don't need this, so we're going to we're going to delete all this out, and we can take out this whole thing here. We're just going to clean it all up. So now if we look over here, it's all empty. So we can just leave it at this, and then we're good to go. So the first thing we want to do after we clean everything up is we want to make our components. So we're going to come over here, make sure we're within this root folder, and we're going to create a component folder. And this components is going to have, so let's make sure we're in, oh, sorry. Let's pull it to SRC. So I forgot we had this SRC. So let's delete this. So within source, we're going to make a folder. There we go. Components. And within components, we're going to have 3 components. We're going to have our add application component .jsx. We're going to have application list .jsx. And we're going to have, let's see, application counter .jsx. Awesome. So here we can say RAFCE. Same thing here. RAFCE is just a faster way to do it. RAFCE, save. Cool. Now let's pull up. So let me open up my main. Open up my main. My main project so you guys can see what we're doing. So localhost 3001. Cool. So for our counter, for our application counter, it's going to be this. So it's counting how many interviews, it's counting how many total applications we've sent, how many interviews we have, and how many offers we have. So it's going to be counting all that. For our add application, it's going to be this. So we're going to be able to fill out the company, position, have you been accepted, rejected, pending on interview. We're going to add the date. So we can go ahead and add the date. We can add whichever date we want, and then we can go ahead and add application. And the application list is going to be whatever application we add. So if we say company test, position test, application, we're going to say is pending, and we're going to pick today's date. So we're going to pick today's date. And if we go ahead and say add application, as you can see, the application is added here. So this is going to be the application list. So this is going to be the application list. So that's what we're doing here. So, well, that's what we're trying to do here, where we have the add application, application counter, and add application list. So for the add application, so let's see which one we want to do first. So let's do the application counter first, because that's a little easier to start with everything. So with application, application counter, we're simply going to say return div. Here we're going to say class name. We're going to say width is full, height is full, flex, justify between. We're going to say pattern of 10. So if we do this, you're going to be able to properly see what we're doing. Cool. And now we can state, let's put all this within a div. Cool. Now we can say H1. We're going to have 3 of them. We're going to say total. This is going to be interviews. And this is going to be offers. There we go. So why can't we see anything here? That's because we have to come over to our page.js and we have to import it. So we're going to import application counter. Cool. And as you can see, now we have that. So that's like the easiest part to do. So we have the application counter and we're all set. So we can go ahead and close out of that. So let's go ahead and close out of application counter. Next we want to do is we want to work on the add application. So remember, the add application is this part right here, this form. So we want to add application. So we're going to head over to application, to add application. So let's do this first. Let's do add application. There we go. So now you can see add application here. And for add application, what we want to do is we're going to state, let's just build everything else out. So we're going to come over here and we're going to say div. So here we're going to be, in this project, we're going to be using minimal CSS because it's not really a CSS project. So it's just minimal CSS is going to be used. So we're going to say class name, flex, justify, center, width full, height full, padding of 10. Awesome. So if we open this up, where to go? Okay, that's fine. So we have that. Now we're gonna say form, and our form always has an unsubmit, but we're just gonna keep it as this for right now. So let's see. Yeah, it's supposed to be a listener for a function, but we got a string. That's fine because we're gonna come back and fix that. So unsubmit's gonna be an empty string. We're gonna say div class name is gonna be padding of 5. Okay, so what did we do wrong here? Div class name, we're gonna have padding of 5. Label, we're gonna call this company. Here we go. Input, class name, we're gonna say padding left of 2, and we're gonna call this type text. Cool. We're gonna do this a couple of more times. So what we're gonna do is we're just gonna bring this and bring it down a couple. Cool. So we have company. The next one is gonna be position. The type is also gonna be text. So position, company. There we go. After position, we're gonna have status. And this is going to be a drop down menu. So it's going to be a select. So input type is going to be, so for this, we're just going to have select instead. Class name is going to be padding left of 2. And here we're going to have our options value. It's going to be accepted. So actually, we're just going to have this first. And then we're going to say select. Cool. And then next, we're going to say accepted. And then we're going to say pending. And then interview. Let's say rejected. So we're going to put rejected as well. Cool. And here we're going to just put the same thing. So accepted. rejected pending interview. Cool. So now if we come over to status here, as you can see the whole thing over here. So that's about it for that. And then for our last one, it's going to be applied, and it's going to be date. Applied, and then the type here is going to be date. Let's not forget the colon. Cool. And lastly, what we're going to do is add a button. So after this div here, we're going to have another div. And this div class name is going to be padding of 5, flex, justify, center. It's going to be button, class name, rounded, background red, 500, padding of 3, hover, background green, 300. And it's going to be called add application. There we go. We have our add application here, and that's about it. So we just completed the front end portion of our add application. And now what we want to do is we want to add our application. Add our application list. So we're going to come over to application list. And let's see, how do we make this a little easier? So the easiest method of doing this now is working on the back end. So we're going to actually just close out of this. And then within app here, we're going to open a new folder. It's going to be called API. And here, the API, the first one is going to be called, so we're going to have another folder within API. It's going to be called applications. And within applications, we're going to have a new file. And it's going to be our route.js. Cool. So how is our backend going to work? So what we're going to do is we're going to input data into this form. We're going to add application. So we're going to hit this submit button. When we submit it, it's going to come over to our backend. It's going to be posted to our backend. And then when it posts to our backend is going to be hooked up to MongoDB. So as it's hooked up to MongoDB, it's going to go into the database. The data is going to be stored in our database, and that's how we have our post. And then for application list, we're going to use a get method to get that data back from the database and display it here. So right now we're going to be working on our post method. So what we want to do is we're going to go over to MongoDB. So let's open up mongodb.com. We're going to sign in. So I'm just going to go ahead and sign in, and there we go. So I'm already signed in. So I already have application tracker here. What you want to do is we can create a new project. So we're going to say new project. I'm going to call it application tracker YouTube. Next, create project. All right, so it's going to take a little while to create. So here we're going to say clusters, build a cluster. It's going to be free, so make sure you're hitting the free feature. We're going to create deployment. So it's going to show you all of this. What you're going to do is you're going to change that password. Well, I'm going to go ahead and change that password once I connect to this. So you're going to head and hit, so you're going to go ahead, for what I like to do, I just like to download the .env file because it's going to have all the credentials in there. And then you're going to say choose a connection method. We're going to use drivers. And as it says right here, we're going to say npm install MongoDB. So we're going to copy that. We're going to come over to this. Let's open up another one, and we're going to say npm install MongoDB. So we're installing a driver for MongoDB. So that way we don't have to use Mongoose and create a schema and all that. We'll just clear out of that. So after doing so, I'm going to go ahead right now and let's see. I'm going to go ahead and hit done. So as you hit done, it should, let's close out of this. Let's close out of this. I'll do this later. There we go. So now if we hit clusters, there we go. It's going to say connect, view monitoring, and browse connections. So if we hit browse connections, it's going to show you just this. So this is the default. And then we're going to be working with this. So now we're going to go into this. Let's make this bigger since we're only working on this. We're going to head over to the root. We're going to create a file. And this file is going to be called .env.local. And within this .env.local, we're going to be putting our Mongo URI. So we're going to say MongoDB underscore URI. And you're going to take that. So let's see. We're going to take that string. So we're going to take that string. Let's go back to Chrome. Let's go back to clusters, connect, driver. We're going to take this string here, copy it, come back over here. Within a string, we're going to put this. So right now, as you can see, it doesn't show the password. So I'm going to go ahead and change my password, and then I'll be right with you guys. So this is the last time you're going to see my .env local. So this is what it's supposed to look like, except where it says .db password, you're going to put in your own password. So that's pretty much it. So I'm going to go ahead and fix my .env, and I'll be right back with you guys. All right, so now that we have our .env.local done, what we're going to do is we're going to come back to the root over here. So let's make sure we're in root, and we're going to create a library. So we're going to create a new folder, and it's going to be called library. Let's make this lowercase, new rename library. So lib, and we're going to have mongodb.js as the file. And what we're going to do here is I'm just going to copy and paste so it's going to be easier to see. So here we're going to say const URI is going to be our process. So what we're basically doing is we're setting up MongoDB here, and we're going to say const URI is going to be our process.env.mongodb URI. Our client is new Mongo client URI, server API. We're going to do all this, and we're going to say const client promise. So our client promise is going to be client.connect. So we're going to be connecting to our MongoDB, and then we're going to export this client promise. So basically our client promise is our connection to MongoDB, and we're going to export this client promise. So that's what we're doing. So you can go ahead and pause and just copy down everything that's here, because that's all we're doing for the library. This is the connection method for our MongoDB. So we'll go ahead and close out of this. And now what we want to do is we're going to say within our route.js for applications, we want to create our post method. So we're going to say import client promise. So we're importing from that client promise, which is our client connect, our MongoDB connect. So we're going to say export async function post request. Here we're going to say const body is equal to await request.body request.json, sorry. And what we're going to be doing is we're going to be getting this from our front end. So company position status applied is equal to body. So this is what we're getting from the body. Now we're going to say const new application is equal to, so this is what we're going to be saving. We're going to be saving the company, position, status, applied. Awesome. Now we're going to have a try catch, so we're going to say try catch. And here we're going to say const client is equal to await client promise. Remember, it's a promise, so you have to have the await. So you have to have the async and the await because it's a promise. And then we're gonna say const database. We're gonna name our database. So client dot database, and this is gonna be job tracker. So that's what we're gonna name our database. And then we're gonna say await database dot collection. We're going to call our collection applications, and we're going to be inserting one. So because we're going to insert one at a time, so all this is going to be inserted, and we're going to insert new application. So we're going to insert this whole object at once. So insert one, this whole object, and we're going to say return database.collection applications dot no, what am I saying? It's the same thing. So we're gonna say return response dot JSON new application status 201. So this status shows that new data has been created. We're returning the new application, so we're responding with the new applications. So we're going to be, so status 201 just means you're created a document and you're going to be responding with this new application. So this is what you're going to be responding with. So we can say catch error. So console dot error. I'm going to return response dot error, and this is going to be saying error failed to post data, and this is going to be status 500. Awesome. So while we're here, we might as well do the get method as well. So let's say for our get, it's going to be a lot shorter. It's going to say export async function get. And here we're going to say try catch. And we're going to say const client is equal to await client promise. Const database is equal to client dot database, and we call that database job tracker. We're going to say const data is equal to await database dot collections dot collection, and we're going to, that collection we're going to be using is applications, and we're going to find the object, and we're going to turn that object to an array. Cool. We're going to say return response dot JSON data. Status is going to be 200. And then for error, we're going to say console.error error return response .json error failed to get data, and then the status is going to be 500. Awesome. So we have our post method here as well as our get method. So now let's see if it works. So Let's go ahead and close out of this. We're going to go back to add application. And here's where we're going to start adding some logic to it. So for add application, we're going to add some logic to it. What we want to do first is we're going to go over to the home, to our page.js. And the reason we're going to page.js is because we're going to be passing props through our home page. And the reason is because if you go ahead and add an application here without using a home to pass props, it's going to add the application, but you're not going to see the data. You have to refresh the page before you see that data. So because you're using use effect, and for use effect to mount, it would have to refresh for that use effect to trigger. So we don't want that. We want the minute we add application, we want it to say to state the application here. So we're gonna go back and we're gonna say for home, we're gonna make this a use client. So it's gonna be a client component. And then here we're gonna say const applications set applications is equal to use state. So let's import use state. Cool. We're gonna say const editing applications set editing applications. So this is for when we edit. So I'm just making sure we have everything in there right now. Use state, and this is going to be null. Applications, use state. Cool. And so for application counter, we're just going to pass in applications because that's going to be the amount of applications we have. Applications. For add applications, we're going to say key is equal to editing applications dot id dot underscore id, because MongoDB stores IDs under underscore ID. So for the key that we're going to be passing, it's going to be dot underscore ID. We're going to say or new. So when we get to this point, we're going to explain what's going on. This is for the editing. We're just making sure we're not making this video too long. So we're going to put all this in. So this is going to be new. I'm just going to go ahead and copy and paste the rest of it. So these are the rest of the props we're going to be using. Awesome. So we're going to be using set applications, editing applications, set editing applications, set editing applications. So this is basically everything here is what we're going to be passing into add application. And then for application list, so let's go ahead and pass that in there for application list, which is what we're going to be working on after add application. We're going to do the same thing. So we're going to pass in applications let's make sure we close out of this. There we go. Set applications, editing applications. Editing applications would be editing applications. Set editing applications would be set editing applications. And there we go. So we've passed all our props, and I explained to you why we're passing the props. So when we pass the props, now we can come into add application, and we can go ahead and just write in some logic there. So we could come to add application here. We're going to be making sure this is a client component because we're going to be using state hooks. So use client. Cool. And now for add application, we're going to be taking in those props and we're going to say set application. We're going to take in set editing applications and we're going to say editing applications. So remember, those are the props we passed in. So that's what we're going to be doing. And now we're going to say const company set company is equal to use state const position set position is equal to use state, and this is going to be an empty string. Here we're going to say status set status empty string applied set applied empty string. Cool. So now we're going to create our handle submit. So we're going to say const handle submit async e.prevent.default. Cool. So actually the easiest way to go about this is to do the post and the edit at the same time. Yeah. So that would be the best way to go about it, because either that or we have to write a long list of handle submit. So what I can do is we're gonna say we're gonna keep this and we're just gonna say use state is gonna be editing applications dot company or empty string. And this is just saying when you edit, you're either going to be editing a company or you're going to be adding a new company. So we're going to say editing applications dot position or new string. So you kind of get the idea. So we're just going to copy all this. And this is going to be status. And this is going to be applied. Yeah, because it's a lot easier when you do both at the same time. Unless you're going to come back, delete it, and then add all this in again. So what we can say is now const is editing. So if we want to edit, we're going to say boolean editing applications. Const URL is going to be is editing. So if we're editing an application, we're going to be using /API, which hasn't been created yet, but we're gonna this URI hasn't been used URL that we're gonna be typing in for editing applications. Editing applications dot underscore ID. So we haven't created that yet, but we have created this /API /applications. So that's the one that's going to be working. We're going to say const method. We're going to have one of two. Is going to be either is editing, which is going to be a patch, or post, which is going to be a post method. So if it's a patch method, then we're just editing. If it's a post method, then we're posting it to the backend to our database. And then we're going to say const response is equal to await fetch URL. We're going to pick that method that we're using. We're going to say headers, content type, it's going to be application/JSON. Our body is going to be JSON.stringify, and this is going to be company, position, status, applied. There we go. So those are all the things we're going to be passing, and we're going to say const data is equal to await response.json. There we go. If we don't return a response.ok, then return. If is editing, so if we're editing, then we're going to say set applications did I not set application? Did I not pass that in? Oh, that's why, because I did not type it correctly. So we're going to say set applications. There we go. Now it works. And we're going to say previous applications. Actually, we don't have to do that. There we go. So we're going to say previous applications.map app app.id is equal to editing applications dot underscore id. Else data, and I'll go ahead and explain what this means. App. So did I write it wrong? Let's see. Let's see. Set applications is editing previous application. Let's rewrite that. So what are we missing? Oh, we didn't even import useState. So import useState. So that's a first sign. Okay. Cool. Okay. So if is editing, then set applications previous applications I think we're missing one of these. Okay, let's finish this out first. We're getting ahead of ourselves. So previous applications dot map app, and this is going to be app dot underscore id is equal to editing applications dot underscore id data app. There we go. So this is what we're going to be getting. And then we're going to say, and like I said, I'm going to explain this in a second. So we're going to say set editing applications to null. Else, we're going to say set applications, previous applications, previous applications, data. Cool. So let's go ahead and come back up here. So this part, let's close this. So this part is pretty self-explanatory, or at least I kind of explained it. So if we're editing, we're going to be using this this URL route, this API route. It's not been created yet. So the one we're going to be focusing on is this API/applications. So we're going to say if the method we're trying to pick is editing. So if we're trying to edit data, we're going to be using patch. But if we're not editing, we're going to be using post. And the way we know if we're editing is going to be done down here. So we're going to have a conditional statement that says if I click, let's say I click where is it? Let's say I click edit. This is going to turn to update application, and we're going to be able to change it. And then I can hit update application, and it's going to go back to what it was. So that's going to be a conditional statement that's going to be made down here. So that's going to be made down here. So now for this part, header, so we're saying const method, const response is we're going to be fetching the URL. The method is going to be either patch or post. Right now we're focusing on post. So it's mostly going to be post until we create our our logic for the editing. Headers is self-explanatory. It's application/JSON. The body, this is what we're going to be passing into the backend. Company, position, status, and applied. We're going to be awaiting the response.json using data. If there's no response.ok, then return. So now we're gonna say if is editing. So if editing, so editing is a boolean. So it's either true that we're updating and editing existing application, or false, we're adding a new application. When we're just editing, so we're gonna say here, if we're just editing, instead of directly using applications, you're given set application as a callback. So previous applications represents the most recent version of the application state. So React gives us the previous state, and we're gonna use that previous state to create our application array. And then we have previous applications.map. So we're gonna loop through every application in the array and create a new array. So when we're done editing, we're gonna come here. So when we're done editing, we're just gonna clear out the application that was being called. So we're setting it back to null. Where is that actually? So here it is. So when we're done editing, we're gonna clear out the application that's being edited. So we're sending it back to null. So when we add a new application, so if the application is false, if editing is false, it runs this. And the important part here is previous applications. So previous applications here is a spread operator. So it takes all the existing applications and puts them into an array. So at the end, it gets added to the object array, or the array of objects. So basically, if is editing is false, we're creating a new application instead. So that's the post. In that case, I'll use the spread operator to copy all the previous applications into a new array and then add the new application data to the end. So it's basically, if we're not creating if we're not editing, then we're just creating a new application instead. That's what this is practically stating. So now we can go ahead and in our return start adding some logic to it. So we're gonna say for our form on submit, it's gonna be handle submit. There we go. For our value for company, we're gonna add value company on change is gonna be, we're gonna take an event target target dot value. That's going to be our change, and we're going to make sure this is required. Cool. So we're just going to do that for all of them. So we're saying this is required because if we come over here, if we just hit add application, it's going to tell you to fill out this field. So that's what required is doing. And then for label, let's see, for label company, we've already done that. For label position, we're going to do the same thing. So we're going to say value is position on change. So I'm just going to copy this on change because it's going to be the same thing. On change. Actually, we made an error. So on change here should be an arrow function. So so I'm just going to rewrite it. So on change, and then it's going to be set company, and then it's going to be e.target.value. So on change, we're going to change this, and here we're just going to change it to position. Cool. For status, it's going to be the same thing. So we're going to come over to select. Where's our select? Right over here. Set status. Cool. It's going to be value status. So let's make sure we have required here. And we're going to have required here. Cool. And then our last one is applied. So for applied, we're going to say value for input. We're going to put the same thing on change. Set applied. Cool. And then the value is going to be applied. Cool. And this is going to be required. Awesome. So now for our button, we're going to say class name, and we're going to say, so let's do this, and we're going to say button class name, not that, button class name is going to be, here we're going to write down the logic, and it's going to be editing applications. So if we're editing our applications, we want it to be rounded. So we want our button to be rounded with a background of amber, rounded background amber 300, padding of 3, hover background green 300. Else we're going to say rounded background red 500, padding of 3, hover background green 300. And now for the button, we're going to say if editing, applications. Then we want it to say update applications. Update applications, else add application. And then we have the button. So let's see if all this works. Okay, so hopefully it works in the first try. Let's see. So we have our MongoDB. Let's open that back up. There we go. Clusters, browse connection. Okay, so we haven't done anything. So we don't even have the database name in there yet because we haven't posted anything. So, moment of truth. Let's come over here. Company, we're going to call it test. Position, we're going to call it test. Application. Oh, before we do that, because it's not going to work, let's go to application list. So we got to be able to list out the application to know that it works. So for the application list, we're going to pass in the props. So we're going to say applications. So we're going to pass in applications, set applications, set editing applications, editing applications. Here we're going to use it. So let's make sure this is also use client. Cool. And then we're going to state use effect. And this is going to be const get applications is equal to async const response is equal to await fetch API / applications. So we're fetching the applications we're fetching the data from our get applications. So from the database. So remember we created the get method. Let's go to it. So we created this route for our get. So this is the data we're returning here is what we're trying to retrieve here. So const data is equal to await response.json set applications data. Get applications. We're just going to call that. Cool. Awesome. So while we're at it, let's create our delete. Or should we? No, we can do that later. Actually, let's do that. So we're going to say it's within the same. Yeah, let's do const handle delete because it's pretty straightforward. We're going to say, we're going to take the async. We're going to write out async, and then this is going to be ID. So we're taking in the ID. I'm going to say const response is equal to await fetch / API / ID. So remember, like the editing, we haven't created the ID route yet. So this is going to be, well, it's not going to work until we create that route. Method here is going to be delete. We're going to say const data is equal to await response.json if response dot okay. So if we do get deleted, set applications, and it's the same procedure we did before. Previous applications, previous applications dot filter app 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 dot underscore ID is not equal ID. Cool. So we're not going to be using this right now. So we're just creating that function so we don't have to come back to it and create it. So here for our return, we're going to say class name, height is full, width is full, padding is 10. We're going to flex row, justify center. Cool. We're going to have another div. Let's see. Cool. For this div, we're going to say class name, flex wrap, gap of 10, gap of 5, text center. Now we're going to say application dot map. So applications dot map app. So here we're going to be passing in all our application, all our data. Return div key is going to be app dot underscore ID, and we're going to have p app dot company app dot position, app dot status, and app dot applied. And then lastly, we're going to have another div, class name is going to be flex, gap of 2, margin top of 4. Button is going to be on click. Set editing applications, app, class name, hover, underline. And this is going to be for edit. Are we missing a div? Nope. So what's the problem here? Oh, there is no problem. Okay. And now, after this button, we're going to create another button. And this is going to be on click. And this is going to be our handle delete app._ID. And then we're going to give it some styling. hover background red 500 rounded pad number 1. And this is going to be delete. Cool. So let's see. Does it still have application list? Why so? Applications.map. Can I read this in .map? Why is that? Applications.map app. Well, I guess because there's nothing to map through right now. So we're just going to make it an optional chain. And application list. So let's come over here. Application list. Oh, that's why. I just keep saying application list. I'm like, what's going on? Okay. So, okay, we still have this for some reason. Okay. So, moment of truth. Let's see if it works. Company test, position test, status pending, and today's date. Here we go. Nope, we got an error. Ooh, that's not good. Why can't I read that? Application. Let's see. Where is this? 17. Oh, that will make sense. E.prevent default. Okay. Let's try that again. Let's see first if it did post. So let's go ahead and refresh this. Browse connections. So no, it didn't go through. So let's see. Let's go to our, see, still doing it. So that's coming from our backend. We did something wrong in the backend. Let's see, what did we do wrong? Try, because this is 200, but it just keeps going. Why? Client, await client promise, the job tracker, await database collection, applications.find to array, return response.json, data, status of 200, catch it. Let's do this. Console.log data. Console.log, new application. Okay, now let's see. For add application, so let's go to add applications, use effect. Where do we put the use effect? Ah, there we go. So there is no dependency array. So it's just going to keep running on the loop. Gotcha. Okay. Let's try it now. So let's see. Test, pending today. There we go. Yay. And now with edit, it's not going to work. So even if we change this to test 1, it's not going to work because we don't have that link. So we're just going to leave it. And delete's not going to work because we don't have it. But basically, as you can see, it's getting it. If we refresh this, so let's go to clusters, browse collections, drop tracker, applications. There we go. It has that. So awesome. So all we have to do now is it's going to tell you all these patch, and delete are 404 because those routes can't be found. So what we're going to do is we're going to create those routes. So we're going to say, let's see, new folder, ID, route. Oh, I made an error. So this should go into API. There we go. Route.js. Okay, just making sure. So now within route, within ID, we can go ahead and import client promise. We're going to say export async function delete request params async function delete request params, and this is going to be try catch. So within our try, we're going to say const ID is equal to await params. We're going to say const client is equal to await client promise. So we're going to say const data. We've already done this. So const database is equal to client.database job tracker const result const result is equal to await database.collection, and the collection name is applications dot delete 1, and then the ID is going to be new object ID. It's going to take in an ID. We're going to say if result dot deleted count is equal to 0, then return response dot JSON error application not found. Status 404. Return response.json. Message here is going to be application deleted successfully. Status of 200. Now for the error, we're going to say console.error error return response.json error failed to delete application status 500. So that's for our delete. And then let's try our patch. So let's make sure delete works first. So let's come over here. So we're done with this. Let's use this. We can refresh it. There we go. Let's go ahead and hit delete. There we go. And let's refresh it here, and it's gone. So our delete works now. Export async function patch request params try catch const id is equal to await params const body is equal to await request.json const company position status applied is equal to body. So this should look similar to the get method. So const client is equal to await client promise const database is equal to client dot database job tracker const updated application is equal to await database dot collection applications dot find one and update. We're gonna say ID is gonna be new object ID. Now we're gonna say set is gonna be the new set is gonna be company position status applied. Return document after. Now we're going to say if there is no updated application, then return response.json error application not found. Status 404. return response.json, updated application, status 200, and for error we're going to say console.error error. Return response.json, error, failed to update applications. And the status is going to be 500. Okay, so now let's try it out. So test, so company is test, position is test, status is pending, add application. If we had edit, we can say company is test 1, update. As you can see, it's test 1. So that's it. Our application is pretty much over. So now for our application counter, which is about the simplest one you can work with, we're gonna pass in applications, and we're gonna say for the total, we want the application dot length. So let's see. So we have one application. So we have the length of this. So it's one application. Interviews, we're going to do this. For interviews, we're going to say applications.filter app.status is equal to interview dot length. And then offers, we're going to do about the same thing, except it's going to be offers. So it's going to be accepted dot length. So our interviews, we have 0. So if we edit this and we change status to interview and we update it, interviews become 1. If we say offers, so offers would be accepted. Oh, sorry. Let's edit this. Status, offers would be accepted. Update, we have this. So you can write the code out to include and interviews. So that way, if you have one interview and one offer, you can mimic the code however you want. You can manipulate the code however you want here. And that's pretty much it. But with all that said, that's pretty much it. Let's go over to our MongoDB. As you can see, it's right in there. So can we delete? Can we edit? Can we add? Yes. So with all that said, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe on a video if you guys did enjoy the video. If you had questions, ask below and I'll be able to get back to you guys. This is just a refresher CRUD application for those of you who maybe strayed away from coding for a while like I did, and you guys just want to ingratiate yourself back into coding little by little. This is a great way to start. And for those who are looking for just a fun application to work on, you guys can expand this however you want. You can play with the CSS, you can manipulate the code to do whatever basically you want it to do. So with all that said, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. And for those of you who are using MongoDB for the first time, I do want to reiterate, do not pay for anything on it. Everything that I used is completely free. So with all that said, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe, and I'll see you guys on whichever video I decide to put out next. Peace.